Well, I have been asked to do the talk as well, and this is what you guys do apparently once a year. It's called Musical Sunday. I've done it before here. And so we celebrate music today, and we celebrate music from a spiritual context, because everything is from a spiritual context if you look at it, right? I have the reverb on here, and I don't have the reverb over there, but I'm going to use this just to introduce this song. you can put up with the reverb. Well, you know what? It's kind of bothering. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about music and what it means to us. And I'll talk about what it means to me, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. But what I've noticed about music is that it provides a way. It's like a way to connect. It's almost like someone throwing down a rope or something that we can all hold on to and connect. And it seems to do this on multiple levels. At least that's how I feel it. First of all, music is really, really emotional. The notes, I don't know exactly why, but the way the notes move and the different tones complement and counteract each other, it creates emotions. You can easily just create an emotional sound just with a few notes on the keyboard or any instrument. And so that it touches the heart in that way. And then there's the rhythm to it. And I think the rhythm, that pulse, is kind of like, it connects with the kind of the way our bodies work. It's like the pulse is part of nature. And you can feel that in your body. You know, you kind of get that strength in your body, or that power, that sense of power. And different songs have different use of rhythm. Some are very quiet, like the one before the last one, or the one we just sang was more energetic. But it kind of connects, I think, with the physicality. So you have the heart and the body. And then with this kind of music that we sing here, there's words. And the words have significance. So this one thing I love about New Thought music is that it conveys ideas. So I tend to like songs, it's because I'm kind of analytical, I tend to like songs that have some specific idea that you can actually kind of not just feel, but take away and inspire you and think about, oh yeah, I want to remember to do that kind of a thing. So I'm going to start with a song that was written by Daniel Nahmod, and it's always been in my mind kind of the ideal New Thought song.
I love this.
Because it isn't serving all purposes, because it's a very special song. It doesn't get sung that much, because a lot of times we want to sing just a very simple, like a little gratitude song or something like that, and that's really important in the course of doing a service. But this song is just a set of big ideas, big important ideas, as well as being a powerful piece of music and great lyrics. And it was very inspirational to me, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I just want to start with One Power by Daniel Nahmod.
Oh, yes. Love it. Good song.
Yeah. Let's see one thing here. I'm getting the sounds you're hearing are coming from the computer, which is why everyone sounds a little different. It's very cool. In other words, they're virtual instruments. But anyway, One Power by Daniel Nahmod. One power, one power, one power. There's one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? The power of love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, different colors, different clothing, different names. But different only seems dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. We remember once we close our eyes to see that such differences were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, heaven's door. It's Mohammed, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air you breathe. It's the power of love in you and me. One power, one power, one power, one power, one power. It's the moment of creation, it's the everlasting peace, it's the freedom of forgiveness, it's the sweetness of release, it's the joy of inspiration, it's the sunshine on your face, it's the birthright of all nations, it's the boundless use of space, it's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of peace, it's the anger we abandon, for it's love that's most deep, it's one power. What we are, it's one power. It's the power of love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of love in you and me. One power, one power. So that's a vocal stretch. It's hard to start off with that one, but I just think that song is amazing on all those different levels that I described earlier. And the reason I wanted to play that first, even though I think ordinarily you'd want to make that your finale, but I wanted to play it first because about 5 years ago I went from being in a congregation of a church and loving the music and kind of wishing, I wish I could be up there on the stage and do that music too, because I did play the piano and I sang, but I hadn't trained really. But 5 years ago I decided I was going to do that. I was going to make that leap. And so that was a matter of setting intention. In fact, I was at an intentions retreat. So I had the spiritual support for deciding I wanted to do that. And when you make a decision to do something that is way beyond your, not just your comfort level, but your skill level, you kind of have to have this dual reality going in your head, because on the one hand, I knew that I wasn't, if someone had called me to get up on stage and sing a song, I would not have been ready. But I also knew that I could be ready. And so what the spiritual approach is to kind of know that it's already done in a way without fooling yourself, without pretending anything. Because we never lie to ourselves. But we can also know that on a spiritual level, this is already done. And that it's possible. That's the key thing. And so how can we trust that God can make it happen? We can't make it happen. I mean, there was nothing I could do to suddenly get, people to invite me to sing. But there were things I could do to make it welcome, and then let God do the actual figuring out of how the details would be, like who would, how do things line up. So it's making it welcome. That's the thing that we can do ourselves in our life. And that has to do with trusting and knowing. And so that's what I did. So the question was, well, how would I make this welcome? And it's so funny because all those years that I wanted to do this, I never bothered to learn a New Thought song. I never bothered to get the sheet music for one and learn to play it on the piano or just start. So that's what I did when I was trying to make this new side occupation welcome in my life. I got the sheet music for one power because in my mind this was that was the ultimate, And so I got the sheet music and started playing in my living room. And I played for maybe half an hour every day. And in the course of doing that, I got better and better. But more importantly, I was imagining that I was actually singing. I've never sung that song publicly before until today. I just realized that. But I was imagining you without realizing it. It's 5.5 years ago. So that just gave me confidence, and it gave me the joy to feel like I wanted to keep doing this, and it eventually got me to the point where I got better and better, and then I got asked to play piano here, and then it just all, it all unfolded in a very beautiful way, as it so often does when I'm not in charge, when I'm not trying to make it happen. So that's why I wanted to start with that song, because it not only represents to me like a glorious achievement, and if you've heard my last album, there's a song on it called That's What I Call God. And I wasn't trying to copy that song, but in a way, I think it has the same kind of spirit. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but it has that kind of, my attempt to try to be all-encompassing in that same way. But enough about me.
Can I just say
yes.
that you did that song really well, because I've heard him do it many times himself down at Marymount and Morrissey's church.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And you did it very well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean the falsetto, that high falsetto is a little beyond my range, but I didn't want to as a singer you can cheat a couple different ways. You can just not go with those high notes. You can sing a lower note, or you can pull back, kind of not sing very loud. And I didn't want to not do the note. I'd rather kind of have you go, and hit the note right, because it's the note, that, whatever that is, really cool note. So anyway, that's what we're always pushing, right? So I'm going to switch to another song now, by another one of the superstars, I think, of New Thought music, Ricky Byers. So Ricky Byers, I kind of tried to notice what of the music that we play at our church, which is the Center for Spiritual Living in Seattle, and also all the Unity churches I go to. The music that's played is almost exclusively written starting in the 90s or thereafter. There's hardly, well, except for Let There Be Peace on Earth. I think that's a goodie. That's an oldie but goodie. But it wasn't really until I think Ricky Byers started performing that she kind of set a new standard, because she brought sort of gospel and soul into it, and then Karen Drucker. And so a lot of other people started creating really modern music. And before that, I think it was more like hymnal stuff, kind of, which is fine. But I think that there was a change going on in the 90s, which is pretty amazing. So I'm going to take us to this song by Ricky Byers, and I just chose this one because I think I've done it here before, but to me, this again is like a beautiful spiritual lesson. One of those ones that we want to keep remembering. It's called Use Me.
Oh.
Use me, oh God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars, all of creation. God is creator, all in all. God needs us to shine His light as me, as you. So use me, oh dear God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my heart, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine His light. God needs us to shine His light. Oh, God needs us to shine His light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Ricky Byers, yes, I've seen her in person a couple times, and she's just this, it seems like she's a direct channel for this effusive love and high energy. It's hard to describe. Wonderful spirit that she has. And that song is really what life is all about, isn't it? Let me be an instrument of spirit. So I just love that song. Now, I was here about a year ago, and there was a young man. I don't remember his name, but I think he didn't perform, but I think he plays saxophone or something like that. And he asked me, he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." He said, "How do you keep from being nervous?" And I thought about that question a lot, because when I first started out doing this, when I made that leap and I was going to different churches and doing this for the first time, I was just completely scared to death. I mean, like I couldn't even think straight. And I don't know. We all have opportunities like that where we feel like we're being pushed to do something. Maybe we have to give a little talk somewhere, and or gardening club or something, you know, or whatever. No matter how small it may be a really scary thing. But for me, the first answer is, first of all, to know that it's okay. It's like human, right? It's just you're in a situation that you're not familiar with, so you have to forgive yourself. I mean, the first thing is to not start feeling bad because you're nervous, because that just makes it worse. But the second thing is more important is you just have to practice the heck out of whatever you're doing, so that you can do it without having to think about it anymore. Your brain goes on your brain is thinking of a million things when you actually get up and perform. So you need to have it cold, so you don't have to think about it anymore. But I think the spiritual aspect of it is, first of all, not judging yourself, because we are just all human beings doing the best we can. And if you're going to learn to not judge other people, we have to start by learning to not judge ourselves. Yes. So seeing, it's not that, it's, you know, that idea of not judging, I don't mean to say that we're excusing anything or that we're saying, oh, that's fine, that I'm doing a certain thing. But what I mean is not putting ourselves in blame or shame, or tearing ourselves down for being, you know, for being nervous or just whatever, or for making a mistake, because that doesn't get anybody anywhere. It's just like there's a level of acceptance that's the opposite of judgment, and that idea of acceptance, I think, comes up a lot in music, and when you're playing music, it's a perfect example. When I'm sitting there playing, I didn't really realize this, because when you watch somebody playing, you kind of just listening and you think, oh, they're just really in the song, and you might check out a little bit. I know I check out when people are singing and playing, but you kind of just think, oh, they're just doing their thing. But when I'm sitting there playing, there's all this stuff going through my mind that I'm thinking about what chord is next, and what's the next lyric, and what's the next note, and how I'm going to do it, and what am I supposed to be feeling, and what did I feel the last time, and what is the audience doing, and why did someone just go up and get some coffee, and you know, it's like a million things. So it's an example of what we have to do in our spiritual lives, which is to hold two things at once. And I'm trying to bring music and performance of music and all that into related to spiritual practice, because it's so these themes keep coming up. But when we are dealing with other people, let's say you have a good friend and they're telling you about something that's miserable that's happened to them. You know, they just got cheated by somebody, let's say. And so, as a spiritual, I'm a practitioner in our church, which is similar to a chaplain here. And so, from a spiritual perspective, if someone's telling me a story about something awful that they've gone through, what I want to do as a human being is hear them and be compassionate about the experience that they had. But at the same time, I don't want to believe. Well, let me put it this way: on a deeper level, which I might not speak aloud, I want to know the truth of them as divine and perfect, and that they are receiving abundantly, you know. So it's like, I don't want to say, oh, you know, you get over it. I don't want to dismiss their feelings at all, because that's not what people need. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I want to hold a higher truth for them, particularly if they're, you know, maybe overreacting or reacting in a way that's kind of negative, you know, in my opinion, or just feeling like nothing's going to go well. I can know a higher truth for them, and so it's this duality that, like when I'm playing my music, I'm thinking about the music, but I'm also thinking about the feeling, and we can all do this. It's like multitasking in the brain. That we all have that ability. So I just think that's interesting. The ability to see what is. To see what is and not deny it, but also know something, know the higher truth. So the next song that I'm going to do is, I'm probably talking too much here actually, but the song is called My God Provides, and it's an example for me. It was an example of like not giving up, because I put this song on the first New Thought album that I did. It was just one verse and it kind of repeated, and then I went to sing it somewhere, and when I was practicing, I realized it didn't like bloom. It didn't like tell its whole story. So I added a chorus, and then I put that version on my second album. And when I was going to perform it here, for some reason I wanted to do that song, but it felt really incomplete. So I rewrote the verse, rewrote the melody and the words, and added a bridge. So you get to hear it for the first time. And it's called My God Provides. And I just give it as an example, well, an example of being inspired myself, and also like, it's okay if you don't get it right the first time.
It's a work in progress.
It's kind of a work in progress, yeah. You can let me know what you think. I'll watch your eyes and see. Okay. Oh, I just have to let you know, technically, just so you're not surprised, a lot of people don't like backing tracks, which is where, you know, and besides playing, I've got some kind of other music, I mean, not other music, but like other instruments that go along with it. And I don't like to do that a lot, but this one, I just felt it needed some rhythm. So I'm gonna give a little test here. This is a drum track, it's just drums. But it comes in the middle. Okay, I have to hit this little pedal. So when you hear that, it's because I hit that pedal. Luckily, I don't have to follow the beat until I'm ready for it. When I dream it, I can see it. When I decide, God will provide. When I feel it, I can touch it. When I dream, God provides. My God provides, I receive, and I am grateful, I accept, I affirm, God is good. My God provides, I receive, and I am grateful, I accept, I affirm, God is good. it distracting?
It's
It's fine? Okay. I missed the pedal. I don't know if you noticed that. Oh, well. Okay, see, that's why it's good that I told you about that. Okay, so, all right, I gotta kind of wrap this up, but I want to just let you know that, first of all, I have put a bunch of CDs, that, my two New Thought CDs, I put them out on the table, and you are welcome to take them. And if you feel like leaving a donation, the money, whatever you contribute, and there's no requirement, will go to Unity of Bremerton. So that's just for your, everybody has needs, right? So I hope you enjoy the CDs, because I love for people to just have them and listen to them. So please take them. That's the other thing. Any questions? This is Q&A time. Like, what? No? Well, yeah.
Okay, so when did you start playing the piano and singing it? Did you start as a child?
Yes, my parents made me take piano lessons when I was in second grade, which I hated because it was classical. What?
Encouraged.
They encouraged. No, they made me do it. I hated it, and basically I hated recitals. But anyway, I will cut that short. But I did get introduced to the piano at that point, and then in my teen years I learned the guitar. But then I understood chords, and then I transferred it back to the piano. So I was grateful in the end that they made me do that.
Was your family musical?
My dad was not professionally, but just as an amateur. So yeah, I grew up to be an amateur. I had the background for it and the training. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So that's the CDs and QA, and then okay, I'm just going to tell one more story. Sorry. Okay, this is one more story.
You know, because I think, in my mind, starting classical at a primary age, that's tricky.
It was. I could rant about that, but I'm not going to take this time to do it. It was not the appropriate thing. Yeah, it really wasn't. But anyway, it's okay. So I want to tell this story because it's like one of the best lessons, like a best spiritual lessons that I've ever heard a musician tell. Now, I don't know if you know Herbie Hancock. He's a keyboard player, actually a keyboard player. And he's been around a long time. But he used to play, when he was first starting out, he played in the band for Miles Davis, who was a trumpet player, really well known. So Miles was, very well established by the time this young keyboard player started joining him, Herbie started joining him. And I've heard I've heard Herbie Hancock tell this story a couple times on video and stuff like that. But he was playing, and Miles went in to do a solo, and Herbie played a chord that Miles, as soon as he played it, he knew it was completely wrong. It was like, and he just went, oh, I've ruined the song, I've ruined the night, I've ruined the gig. He kind of thought he probably ruined his whole career. But what happened was Miles took a breath, and I'm just using Herbie's words here. Miles took a breath, and then he played a phrase, some notes, that made that chord right. And Miles, Herbie tells a story that he couldn't figure out for a long time how he did that. Like, how did he make that right? But what he realized eventually was that Miles accepted that chord. He accepted it as what is, and then he went with it, and he decided to make something beautiful out of it. I mentioned earlier that thing about nervousness has to do with acceptance and not blaming ourselves. And I think it's that same lesson. I think that there's a piece about acceptance of what we do and what other people do, and how we can turn that into something beautiful. So Herbie says the lesson was that the difference between what Miles did and what Herbie himself did in that moment was that Miles didn't. Well, Herbie says, I judged what I had played. Miles didn't. So he just accepted it, and he went on. And that's what jazz musicians do, and that's what we should all be doing with our lives. Because things don't always go right, right? Do things always go right? No, they don't. Okay. So anyway, right on that point, I'm just going to leave you with probably a song from my favorite band, because they were coming in their glory when I was in my teen years, and I think that for everybody, whatever was going on when you were teenagers is like your favorite music ever. You know, like younger people like Nirvana. I'm like, I'm not really quite sure who they are, but okay. Anyway, you'll know this song, I think, and it's also deeply spiritual. Right? Love, love, love.
Switch to the next thing here. There we go.
Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. There's nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can say that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. There's nothing you can know that isn't known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. Nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. Everybody sing. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. 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 Love is all